Dear brothers and sisters, last night I had a dream that a pastor's wife, who's now in heaven, was giving us a tour through the ages, beginning at a parking space for a horse and buggy. The horse and buggy were in a parking space that was now paved, although the pastor's wife admitted a little bit of manure had been buried underneath. I reasoned that a little bit of fertilizer for growth wasn't so bad, especially when the end result was a strong stallion full of horsepower. I looked up on the hill as we took a little school bus tour through the ages. I could see columns that looked like ancient ruins in Greece or Ephesus, with refreshing pools of water and fountains in between, reminding me of the pool of Bethesda, referred to in the book of John, where Jesus heals. I was in the process of writing a third book. The cover was blue, like my first book, The Doorman to Heaven, but my second book, Praying Through the Letters, for example, Paul's letters to the Ephesians, didn't seem to fit with the cover. I was simultaneously making a video while I was writing a book that had a lot of good content in the beginning, a long period of time in the middle with not a lot of content, and a strong finish. Both the book and the video seemed to be pointing to the age of grace in the middle. Now we were at the end, and the book was going to be titled Trump Sings. But the cover had a lot of errors that needed to be corrected before publishing, and I was trying to find the right place in the video to put Trump's song. I started calculating alongside it how long Trump had been in office, minus his 2 impeachments. Trump's second impeachment was 1 week before his term expired. We were now on a hilltop, and we'd purchased a British school. In an earlier dream, I'd seen a double-decker red bus, and I thought, uh-oh, he likes her now. We had a convertible vehicle, and the tour was coming to an end. Although the pastor's wife didn't seem too worried about time, she had all the time in the world to explore, but the doors seemed like they were now closed or closing. It was like we'd all been at a week-long camp at my grandmother's condo, but now it was Sunday night and camp was over. I heard and saw someone cleaning out the fridge and packing up to leave, and I kind of felt a little bit like they were deserters. It felt like I was nearly the only one staying until the very end, and I would be there late on a Sunday night, perhaps when there were only ruins left. So I hopped on a train to get out of there with a lady named Victory, and as she held up my book and offered to make copies of it for me, I told her there were still mistakes on the cover that I needed to fix first, and I didn't think we had time for me to go back and fix them. Yesterday, in a word I received from the Lord as I was waking up, God had given me a new name, Christina Grace, covered like Jesus Christ. Christina Grace. But I also received the words Adolf Hitler. In another dream, I'd seen a lady in a red suit or coat marching her sons who looked like soldiers to church. With her, I admittedly felt like a sloppy pile on the side of the road, and I nearly saw someone get hit by a bus when they went back to get an empty black and white box of crayons. But when I peered through the cracks in the wall, I could see water flowing through them. I saw what looked like an army of nurses dressed in white with red lining forming a search and rescue team. I was amongst them and I was ready to go, but we had to be well prepared and we had to have a plan first. We also needed energy, so I shoved a big pile of what looked like cornmeal in my mouth. It didn't taste so good when people asked, but perhaps it had some protein. Was I on military rations? I saw a bunch of guys try to reach up to where I'd put some hoses up on a cliff, maybe on my roof, to keep the fires out before helping my neighbors put out their fires multiple times. But the guys just ended up sitting down at the bottom and wrestling in a messy pile in the mud. I explained that's not how slip and slides work. I said I wasn't like all those girls digging around in their purses, that I like to play football in the mud and rain too. But I did keep a towel nearby. It was like we were in a marathon going down a ramp to get to the room temperature bottled waters at the bottom, though there was ice cream all around. Someone named Michael was there. Michael means who is like God and a gift from God. I heard the words, "It's time to get out of this judgment." It was like we'd toured the entire globe, seeing swaths of land like Central and South America, and Brazil with its Rio de Janeiro, which means River of January. We'd seen the Middle East and Africa and how they were all connected, but we didn't even have to climb the pole to get all the way up to see a bird's eye view of all of it, including the Arctic Circle. We just walked out on an observation desk. An observation deck. As I looked at the two kids at the front of the tour group, with a sister and brother beside me, it began to rain. We talked about going to pick up some tacos, and we reasoned that we would just bring them back to our place. I said, well, now my son can put away his Harlem Globetrotters headband. And this is the end of the dream.